Hello and welcome to the Curiosity Chronicles. We have a big one today. We are going to dive into some connections between Diddy, the Bronfman family. Some of you may know who they are, the Seagrams company, and the NXIVM cult. And all of these things are part of the public conversation, so we're not going into secret territory, but I stumbled upon some connections and I thought they were quite interesting. And I thought they kind of explain a lot about why the entertainment industry might be coming across in a certain way. So we're going to look at these connections. We're going to start with Diddy. So he's obviously a music mogul. We know that. And he founded Bad Boy Records. And that his music production company really shaped the music industry in the 90s and the early 2000s. Yes, I have notes, so don't mind me. I did. I know I would not stay on track if I didn't write notes. If you know me in person or you've heard me talk at all, you know I can go all over the place. So I always have notes. I always kind of have a script in front of me of where we're going. So Diddy had a deal with the Universal Music Group, UMG, and this was with his Bad Boy Records label. And so Universal handled the distribution for Bad Boy Records. They provided marketing and promotional support for Bad Boy Records. And unfortunately, well, for, who knows, there was tension over the amount of marketing and money being offered. So that kind of came to an end. His contract with Universal was set to expire in 2006, but about 5 years earlier than that, he ended the deal. Excuse me. And he took back full control of his own label. That is how I understand it from what I have researched. And yes, I have researched this because I wanted to make sure I had some facts here. The Bronfmans. So the Bronfman family, they are Canadian, and they are the owners of the Seagrams company. And this is a company that was founded in Canada during Prohibition as a distillery. And Prohibition is like what, in the 30s? So almost 100 years ago. In the 1990s, they started their transition from alcohol to entertainment. And they bought into, they were buying up different labels. They were buying, they bought UMG, which is Universal Music Group. And I think there was a few. When I was researching, I was like, oh yeah, this is quite a number of labels. They had a lot of control over the music and entertainment industry, that's for sure. So this really did give them a lot of influence, the Bronfman family, and they shaped the music industry. And the Universal Music Group was one of the largest record labels, and it was a hub for entertainers in hip hop and pop. And like I said, Diddy had his label with them for marketing and distribution. So there was a connection there. This is a great example of how wealth and power can dominate the culture through production and distribution. You got enough money, you can tell people what to think, believe, feel, desire, everything else. So that's an interesting connection there when we learn more about the Bronfmans. So I'm sure by now you've heard of NXIVM, which was they would call themselves a self-help group. And when I would listen to the leader of NXIVM, Keith Renier, excuse me, I would hear what he was saying, and I'm like, yeah, I'm there with you, I get it. But the issue is, and I watched a whole bunch of documentaries on this, I listened to podcasts about this was years ago, that they were right at the peak of everybody's consciousness. I could totally get why people would buy into what he was saying. Unfortunately, the people who were coming to him were, for lack of a better word, kind of broken, and they needed a safe place. They needed safe people around them. They needed people to help them heal and lift themselves up again. And what we have a lot of times, especially in the spiritual world, I am in the spiritual world in myself, so it's not something we really discuss here on this channel, but it is on my other channel. I can see how easily people can believe that they are getting help, but actually find themselves in a cult. So I can see it. There's a lot of toxic spirituality going on out there. So they were branded as a self-help organization, but they manipulated their members into servitude and even abuse. And there's another one like that, Teal Swan, when you talk to the people within her, like, or you hear the people talking within her group or organization, there's some parallels there as well. So it's interesting. It's interesting that when you see these people actually functioning in their lives, it's quite different than what you believe they might be. So within NXIVM, there was a sort of a subset of a subgroup called DOS, DOS. And that was basically a group of enslaved women. And they were blackmailed. They were controlled through blackmail. Anything that they talked about that was personal, it would be recorded. And then later on, if they tried to leave the group, the person that was like their handler would then threaten them and blackmail them and say, well, we have the recordings of all the conversations that you had about the affair you were having, or, whatever. Right. And because people would trust the leaders of this group and share their secrets and their thoughts and their beliefs and everything else. So anyway, if that wasn't enough, these women were branded like you do like cattle. You would brand a cattle with a metal thing, and they were branded with Keith Renier's, the Renier, or however you say his name, with his initials, and it was down sort of in their pelvic region. Okay, so we've talked about Diddy, we've talked about Seagrams, and we've talked about NXIVM. The Bronfman heirs, Clare and Sara Bronfman, were heavily involved with NXIVM. And they actually ended up being high-ranking members of this group. And they used their wealth to fund and protect the leader, Keith Renier, or Renier. And Clare Bronfman specifically invested millions of dollars into NXIVM, and she financed lawsuits against people who tried to leave the group. And she made sure that the group was legally protected with her money. So she was paying for lawyers, basically, essentially. And Clare Bronfman specifically, but the two sisters, they are the reason that NXIVM got to where it got to and achieved and grew as big as it did, because they were financing it. This was literally meant to be a self-help organization and ended up just being an abusive cult. And the whole thing blew up a few years ago. There was a legal downfall of everybody. People got put in jail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can Google the details of that. Keith Renier, Claire, Allison Mack, I think is her name. She's an actress who was in Smallville. She went to jail as well. There's all of that. So now we have the Bronfmans, who own Seagrams, who bought all these music labels, being involved in a severely abusive cult where many of the top people went to jail. And you can listen to the podcasts and watch the documentaries and learn all the facts and details for yourself. This is just an overview. And yes, I find lots of things curious. So yeah, if this feels like a departure from what should be talking about on this channel, or what I may have promised to talk about on this channel, no, it's not. It's not, because this is just as curious to me as like a pumpkin spice recipe. Okay. So, this, this connects us back to Diddy, because he was part of Universal Music Group, was very connected with all of these people in the music industry, no matter what labels they were under. And of course, connected with the Bronfmans, and by default, then connected to NXIVM, even if he never went near it. There's, ABC. We're just 2 degrees away. And all of this abuse and exploitation that went on within the cult, it kind of parallels the abuse and exploitation in the entertainment industry. So can we see that there's some parallels there? That there's psychological manipulation, controlling behaviors, and both groups use this, the entertainment industry and this cult, the NXIVM cult. And a lot of the things that are coming out that people are seeing are the same kinds of things that were said about like the Bronfmans and the Keith Renier and people like that. So it's just an interesting set of dots to be connected, really, is what it is. And, we're talking about power structures shaping culture. So the self-help industry, the music industry, the spiritual industry, like all these different things, like NXIVM through the concept of self-help and leadership manipulated and abused people, and Diddy through music and celebrity influence, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, blah, 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 blah. We're just chatting about life, right? He would have that same kind of influence through money and power and everything else. Everybody wanted an invitation to a white party, right? People bragged about being at the white parties. So many people have been at white parties. People are like, yeah, I went to a white party, but I just talked. I had a drink and went home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but then there were a lot of people who have just been desperate to get to a white party and got their invitation, and might be getting named now. So there's a lot of interconnectedness between systems of power. And, you've got a corporation, the Seagrams Corporation, you've got this cult, you've got the music industry, and the individuals within it, and the abuse and exploitation. And this is all coming to the surface. I don't think that people trust the entertainment industry anymore. I think a lot of people, and I love seeing the number of people within the entertainment industry actually starting to speak their truth and starting to say, like, listen, this is what's going on. I know that, and people are taking it seriously. The Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, I mean, they've been talking about it. Then no one believed them. People laughed at them. Yeah, and look at how that ended up. So the question really on the table is, how do we hold powerful individuals accountable for their actions when those actions and their lives and their contributions to culture and society and everything else are pretty significant? And I think it's sometimes very hard for people. People think that because somebody is something, that they must be good all around. And that's not the case. I'll give you a great example from my own life. In my town, the three city police departments raided someone's house. And I knew these people. I was quite connected with these people. They, Friday night, 10 o'clock at night, pound on the door, burst in. They arrest the man. They seize all of his computers and everything else. Child pornography. These were upstanding citizens in our community. And it was amazing to me how many people, when we were explaining, okay, he's been arrested, we can't have contact, blah, 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 we need to distance ourselves, how many people refused and said, nope, they didn't believe any of this, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, just because he pretended to be good doesn't mean he is, right? So when we look at like somebody providing incredible entertainment to the world, is it hard to hold them accountable when we find out the parts of them that we didn't know, that weren't public, that weren't exposed? That's the question for the day. And, all of these big, powerful corporations and wealthy billionaires and millionaires contributing to everything that's going on, is it difficult for us as a society to disconnect the two and sort of say, yes, this person is an incredible musician and they're also a scoundrel? Right? Can we do that? Allegedly, for entertainment purposes only. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you have anything to add to this conversation, please put it in the comments. Don't forget to click subscribe. If you click subscribe a second time, you will be able to click the notification bell. So, because I know it disappeared for a lot of people, but I figured it out one day. If you just click it twice, you'll get the little notification bell, and then you'll find out when any of the people that you follow are posting new content. So let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Have you heard of NXIVM? Do you know who the Bronfmans are? How do you feel about, very, very powerful, wealthy people kind of almost getting away with murder? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be back with something else interesting. And yes, I do change my clothes. I just batched a lot of content today, so I'd have a ton of stuff to catch up on Vlogmas. Subscribe, like, comment, do all the things. Have an amazing day.